Hello, and welcome to Vixie's 2026 tutorial of how I personally like to rig Adam's apple movements. My voice may be mumbly. That's because I don't talk a lot, at least not narration style like this. Um, as I've said, this is an Adam's apple tutorial. This will show you how I personally like to rig the Adam's apple moving, and I will show you a reference of what I mean by that right now. So, as you can see here, this is my fallen angel model, and well, as you can see, the Adam's apple moves based off of my voice input. So, if I were to just like open my mouth and not say anything, nothing would happen. like See, nothing happens, and it's pretty sick. And yeah, so I will show you how I personally like to rig this. So this is a model I'm rigging for Sir Necro. He is rebranding, and I need to rig his Adam's apple. Now, this is a pretty simple process. You really only need these parameters that I'm showing on screen right now, and it's a pretty straightforward process, I personally would say, as long as you're used to doing things like that. So I will go ahead and set those parameters. It should be, I'll show you what I mean. It would be voice A. You don't have to ID it the same way. It just helps with organization later on. It'll be a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 1. It will not be a blend shape. You can make this a blend shape if you so wish, but it personally, for me, does not matter. And now I'm going to go ahead and go through and add all of those. And once you have all those set up, you can do this before or after you rig the rest of the body. It does not matter. Mainly because it's in its own warp deformer, and you don't exactly need it to be warp deformed. So go ahead and mesh your Adam's apple so that when you do later on rig the body and the head turning and stuff, it meshes properly. And once you have your Adam's apple meshed, I personally just auto mesh it and then go in with the add points tool. It's a pretty simple way to do it, especially if your item is small and you don't really need to manually mesh it. I personally don't, but if you want to, you can. So we're going to add a bunch of warp deformers for each voice value, except for voice silence. We will leave that on the base mesh because it doesn't move. And once you have all of those done and mapped out, you can go ahead and add the them to the parameter. I have mine at a 10 by 10 warp division. That is because later on when I'm rigging next turn, I don't want it to mesh weirdly, because if you do not know, the warp deformer outside will only move the warp deformer inside based off of what it has set up. So if you have a 2 by 2 warp division, it will not move the same as a 25 by 25 warp division. So go ahead and add your keyframes. You only need 2 points on each parameter. And what you will be doing is basically moving them up a little bit or a lot. It depends on how much you want your atoms out to move. I don't care that much about how much mine moves, but really it just depends on the size and the, I guess, look that you're going for. It goes up just like this. Oops. And then as you can see, voice silence does not move. Okay, so you want to go ahead and open up your settings. And you want to scroll down until you find the use microphone input and make sure that is on. My values may look differently to yours. These do not matter. In reference to this, at least, they do not matter because we're not using that. This is also good practice for if you want to use such things for, let's say, mouth movements. If you don't want the regular one, you can actually set it up so that it tracks based off of your voice input. So we're going to make, where is our voice? And you can also change it based off of this. I personally don't know how to do that, but if you find out how to do it, go ahead and let me know. You want it to be the input to be voice A. And as you can see, once it decides that I have made the right vowel movements, um uh it will move the values. So go ahead and add all the rest of your parameters. And once you are done going through and naming all of your parameters, I highly suggest naming all of them, because then you will not be left with this situation where you do not know which parameters which, especially if this is for a commission or a gift for a friend. It can be very confusing and it could be seen as unprofessional. But that is all for my tutorial. Thank you for watching and checking this out. I hope this helped a ton. I may be doing some more tutorials in the future for other things that I figured out on my own. Uh, but in any case, thank y'all for coming in hand with me and watching this tutorial, and I will see everyone next time.